My goodness. What's up, everybody? Welcome to... You recording, Andy?
Whose head was in these?
Sammy.
Stretched him out, long head.
No, he didn't. He did not stretch him out.
I got a tiny head.
Now Ashley's going to want her own headphones that she plugs in herself every time.
Or I don't have my weave anymore, so it's actually sitting on my scalp.
That's probably what it is, because it has not changed its size. Your helmet's off. Took your helmet off.
I was like, but then I got a petite little head.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, you got both videos, Andy?
I got one.
Okay, we'll let you work on the other one while we do an introduction. Welcome everybody to Beyond I Do. Thanks for joining us on today's episode.
Just me and you again.
Yeah. What an incredible episode we had last week with Marie and Anthony. I enjoyed that.
That
one.
was good. That was
great.
Really good.
Yeah.
I just could listen.
Anthony brought the energy for sure.
He definitely did. And it's really, it was really unique to see, like, just the viewpoint and perspective of having grace. And that's what Marie had, is having the grace in her marriage and understanding her husband and his trials that he has. You have trials.
I hope you learned something.
Well, you have issues.
I hope you learned something.
Not as hard as his, but yours are. There's something. They're there. There's a lot of grace that's there.
Well, then I hope she taught you something. I hope iron sharpened iron last week.
Did
you? So speaking of which, we recently, that I'm aware of, become a very popular episode that I'm unaware of. Well, I think we talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it, but the grandparents, the Boomer parents. And I was just informed today, I had no idea that our second most clip on social media ever has become this topic.
Really?
Yeah. Do you not check your Slack? No. Okay. Ashley doesn't work. So
it's on Do Not Disturb today.
I just found out so far that, I don't know, it's been up for a week, couple days. I don't know what it is, but it's 6 million views so far.
Wow.
It's 4 days. It's been up for 4 days. It's up to 6 million views.
Wow.
Like 6,000 comments.
Positive
Nancy
comments.
saying majority positive. 6,400 comments and 6 million views. I got the insights right here. 72,000 shares, 110,000 likes. That's crazy.
That's insane.
Another 1.6 million views on Facebook as well, which we always forget that it goes on Facebook. So there you go.
Crazy.
Well, yeah. So the watch time has already equated to 2 years.
Dang. So that's the one that we clipped that you.
We're going to play it. I got it. We're going to, I figure we just do a quick recap on this one because, since I was in the, hot seat, though the comments are positive, I know there's probably, some, baby boomers who maybe aren't fans of the statement. Facebook probably has a different, we haven't even looked at those. Might be some people angry about that. But I think if you have a very open heart, like my mother-in-law did when I brought it to her attention, it was more like oh my goodness, I didn't know. Oh, I'm so glad that I'm trying to be, active. Almost like and being aware of that, it's like, that's good to know that I'll be aware of that,
right.
So
well, and that was kind of...
She had a very mature response towards it.
She did, and she called me this morning, actually, and we had a conversation of just, like, parenting and, like, how I was telling her, like, Mom, I don't know. I won't know if I'm doing a good job, even with my own kids, until they get older.
Yeah.
I'm praying I'm doing the best I can do now with being or with having them disciplined, with raising them to have obedience and all of those things.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, I won't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know. You did the best you could. So now as a grandparent, having, all that other stuff. So, sorry.
It's true.
Yeah.
And, there are everybody has different parenting styles.
Yeah.
And I want our boys to have, certain experiences and mental capacity that I had. And I also want them to have different experiences too. And you can't hack how someone takes, certain things in raising your children, right? Like I can't guarantee the fact that we allow our children to have a certain amount of autonomy, in their decision making throughout the day and stuff like that. Like, you can't guarantee like, okay, well, if we do that, that's going to make them like this. Right. Or if we discipline this, it's going to make them like this. Like they still have their own autonomy. They still meet other people when we're not around. Other voices have effects in their lives. Right. And so we can do, at the end of the day, we could do what we are convicted to do. It's based off our conviction, right? And, even the people, closest to that we spend a lot of time with, Aaron and Erica and Nathan and Oz, they parent differently.
Right. Right.
And so, even the people we surround ourselves, we're not all carbon copies of what we allow our kids to do and not do, say and not say. Everybody's different in that way. And I've met people that were like latchkey kids that basically raised themselves because single mother, and they turned out amazing. Right. So like certain rules and disciplines and this and that don't guarantee, like perfect adults or children, right? So, yeah, I mean, I agree. But let's watch this clip that is, started to, in 4 days, 6 million. There's like a trend of millennials cutting off their parents because baby boomer parents don't really involve themselves in their children's life to a period of inconvenience. Like the average person's childhood, they were at their grandparents a lot. They were being watched a lot. Yeah. They were being toted around by the grandparents a lot. And so the millennials are having children and they're assuming, okay, my parents are going to have the same relationship I had with my grandparents. And then they call their parents for anything, the baby boomer parents, and everything's an inconvenience. I got stuff going on. I'm still living my life. I'm doing whatever I want, when I want, how I want. Well, first of all,
you weren't
well done, Andy. Good cut.
That was
Good
great.
cut,
That was
Andy.
great. That was
great storyteller, bro.
Yeah.
Way to. We don't. I never know what Andy cuts, edits. Some stuff I like, some stuff I don't. Not in terms of what he cut, but just in terms of what I said. Like, I don't really. I didn't really believe in what I said.
Yeah.
Almost like I said it, but like if you held a corner to me, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I don't care about that. So there are times that Andy will cut stuff that I'll be like, oh, that's interesting that he thought.
Yeah.
That was a standout moment because to me that maybe didn't, and so I'm always fascinated because I mean this he's pumping out. I don't even know how many clips a week, Andy. How many are you doing, Andy? 7 each podcast. So 2 episodes a week. So 14 a week. So 60 clips a month.
That's crazy.
Well done, Andy, man. Yeah, great job, bro. Thank you for
that's awesome.
And so let me first say that, why do we do this? Why do we do that? Well, number one, when you can clip something that is relatable to people or a statement, ultimately for a certain amount of people, it gets them curious to say, oh wow, those people have an interesting view of a perspective of life. Let me look deeper into the actual episode. So, our ultimate goal is not to keep people on that clip and just be like us speaking to the choir and people be like, oh yeah, it's so true. Baby boomers, blah, blah. It's for people to say, oh wow, like you had gotten messages from people, right?
Yeah, tons.
From that episode?
Tons.
What you could tell people what? So I didn't get no messages. People don't be talking to me, but you got messages, which is great. Yeah, DM Ashley,
A lot of people were just saying, I felt seen and I felt heard. And a lot of people were saying they were getting emotional because they're dealing with this with their in-laws or even with their own parents. So they were finding themselves at a standstill of like, I don't know how to comprehend this. I don't know what to say. I don't know how I should address it. Should I address it?
Yeah.
But after the episode, they were like, this has given me confidence to say like, yes, I have had this headship over me where I just still want to be obedient to I want to honor my parents. And Adam gave a great perspective of that's not what that means.
Yeah, honor doesn't mean obedience. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they were just like, I'm so glad now I have words to put to it to basically say like, not that I'm going to stand up and like go against my parents, but it's something where now, can you hear me?
For sure.
Can you hear my heart? Can you hear where I'm at? Can you see where I'm at?
Yeah.
And how this possibly could even just, as much as I'm honoring you in the sense of respect, it hurts me.
Yeah.
Because there's a level where out of my respect of you, I'm taking the brunt of it.
Right.
And that's not fair. So a lot of women were basically saying that they really appreciated it. They really enjoyed it. And that some of them were like, I got to listen to it again. And I'm sharing it.
Yeah. And I think, that's why we do it. I mean, the ultimate goal beyond I do is to bring relationships and marriages stronger with each other, and also stronger with Christ, you know,
Right.
and so we're Christians first. And so historically we've called it like the third party when we've done marriage counseling, is like everybody needs a third party. Lawyers are third parties, judges are third parties, you know, like, you know, insurance brokers, all that. That's a third party, right? We go to third parties all the time. Where in your marriage, where in your family do you go to a third party? For us, it's Jesus. He's our third party. He's our authority. Everything he leads us to do trumps our feelings, our emotions. But within that, so it's a priority. That's our main goal. But within that are just real life things that you experience that are connected to our faith, but also are just naturally part of life. And so that episode is in particular one that you could, if you're a Christian, you have to walk in grace and humility and compassion. And so that is a higher standard. That's a higher calling. But, you know, believer or unbeliever could listen to an episode like that and say, oh, wow, I really feel seen. I feel heard. I feel like most people don't talk about their relationship and their life and all that. And so, you know, it allows you and I, we're so to say, people's third party, where they could say, wow, I didn't know. I thought I was living in an echo chamber where I was the only one dealing with a parent situation like this. And then they realize there's 6 million other people, you know, who are feeling this too, right? And so
6.9.
It's 6 million flat. It's like 5.9.
That's crazy.
And so I'm sure by the end of the week, it'll be, you know, 9, 10. I mean, because there's one
crazy,
I did 4 months ago that, you know, just every day gets another few hundred, you know, a few thousand.
I didn't even know that one was clipped,
comments.
because majority of the ones that we get tagged in. So that one, obviously, or you get tagged in. So
Alizé forgot to tag us.
Thank goodness.
On that one, she said.
That's fine, because clearly you saw how far it went. They're like, nah.
She's like, oh, I didn't add Adam as a collaborator. Let me do it now. I'm like, that might be the trick. Stop tagging me. People don't want to hear from me.
But that was a great clip. It really was. It really does open up conversations. But then I also believe it opens up conversations that people aren't having.
Yeah.
That they need to be having with their parents, that they need to be addressing. Because honestly, after we had the conversation with my mom, she has now come to a point where she goes, I just want to do whatever I can to help you and Adam. That was in her prayer this morning. She prayed for us and she goes, God, just give me the wisdom and allow me to help Adam and Ashley, however you see fit.
Yeah, and like, you know, Easter Sunday, biggest weekend in our church's history, and really busy. I mean, you know, spoke multiple times all weekend, and your mom was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to your house, so you guys don't have to drive, but I'm gonna go to your house. I'm going to help with your kids. I'm going to go grab some catering from Cardenas. I'm going to get some Mexican food. I'm bringing it house. So, and then I walked in. Everybody said hello. She's like, Adam, like, you don't have to host us. Go take a nap. I'm here to help you on the biggest weekend in my whole ministry, being that it was a record setter for our church. So it was like, wow, that care that was like, wow, didn't have to ask you but also the more awareness your mom has had. Because for all intents and purposes, your mom's an incredible believer and has been saved and in the church forever, but has been like on staff at a church. So the more that like, it's just like, oh, you guys are doing this, like, wow, that's a lot. How can I help? And so your mom has responded in a great way to be like, oh, in some ways, I didn't really know how busy you were or how much this was. And so rather than make it harder on you guys, like I want to help, and I'm going to inconvenience myself, you know, for my next generation, right? Which is like, in a sense, an added legacy that your mom's going to have as she gets, you know, much older, and not that she's old now, but yeah, she gets much older and our kids become young adults and all that. Like they're going to have this memory of like, wow, grandma really helped hold it down, you know, on a regular basis. And your mom has always said, and she's really done like an amazing job helping with that. And so have my parents, but your mom has like really been pulling us aside and having more like, give me a list of what you need. And so, but like your mom has always said like, you know, like, if you guys are busy, I want your sons to be around family first. Like your mom's like, I love that the boys have like play aunts and play uncles and play cousins. Like that's important. Like, I'm so for that. But if I'm available, you know, like, I want them to have memories with grandma because I'll always be here, you know, and that's true. Friendship changes and all that. And, you know, family changes too, but it's much more rare. Right. So it's just that mature awareness that from your mom's generation and my parents have really been stepping in lately and helping taking the boys to school. It's like, it's just an awareness to be like, oh, wow, maybe this could be an added legacy that it doesn't always have to be financial. It doesn't have to be, you know, a college fund. A presence is a present, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that with her doing that, I will say, obviously being my mom, there's been many of conversations though.
For sure.
Many of this isn't something that had happened overnight between us. It was conversations of, here's Adam's schedule, this is what he's doing, and here's my schedule, and this is what I'm doing. This is the load that I'm taking on when my husband's traveling. This is the load we're both taking on when we're home. So we've also invited her as well into our home. But there also is still a level too of healthy conversations and kind of hard conversations too of understanding when like, Mom, I am overwhelmed right now. Or, hey, I do need a little bit more right now.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I don't know what to do. And you being my mom, can you help me still? Yeah. And I think there's a level of ownership when you allow and you can trust your parents. And obviously some people may not have that. And it may take some time to either rebuild that trust or to gain the trust. But I would say it's worth it in the end because me and my mom can just have healthy, free-flowing conversations as a mother and daughter, but then also as just people that are going in the same direction, and we want my children and our marriage to point at Christ always. My mom is always going to be the one that knows who our third party is in Christ. And so any way that she can implement or help and undergird, that's why she takes the kids more instead of having the aunties, is because she's like, okay, I trust who my daughter and son have watching my grandkids, but I would love to be that person that they can trust even more, knowing that I'm going to take them to school. I'm going to pray for them. They're going to go to
she's retired, and so there's an availability, you know, to her life. And your mom is a get up and go person. So she doesn't view the kids, so to say, as an inconvenience. Like if your mom, like if she, you know, your mom, you know, talks to a lot of like, seniors, women's in the church and stuff like. So she's like, if I'm visiting a senior woman in the church, if I'm watching Matthias Thomas, they're coming with me. But like others would be like, well, then I have to cancel this because I can't take, you know, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old to a convalescent home, or I got this, you know, this event that's, you know, this. She's like, no, y'all are going, and you don't get your iPads, and we respect that. And there's give and take, right? Your mom doesn't like the boys on iPads, and we don't go, well, we let them. That's our parenting style. We say, hey, if you're with grandma, you know, we respect that. And if it's grandma's call, if she don't want you, we respect when she's watching you guys. But then Thomas recently, he goes,
sure
well,
did.
grandma won't let us on her iPad, then she's not allowed to be on her phone. You know,
he did. He said that, and I called her that morning, and I said, "Hey, Mom, I know the boys are coming over, but I want you to know what your grandson said." And this is what he said. And so I'm
4-year-old, man.
4-year-old.
That boy worries me. And he's doing that at 4.
And so she was like, "I'm not on my phone that much, but it also gives." It gives room for us to be self-reflective, not just in that situation, but like even yesterday I told Matthias the same thing. I said, you lost iPad privileges, you were disrespectful, X, Y, and Z. And then so I'm on my phone when I get into the driveway, and he goes, well, you're on your phone. And I'm like, that's not how that works, first of all.
Yeah. First of all, you're disciplined.
You're right. You're being disciplined. But they're very quick to see if things that you're requesting of them that you're not upholding your end, that they're going to tell you how it is. So they know going to Grandma Betsy's, they go, we know we're going to go learn.
Read books. And all, which is fine.
Or be active, and they go and play in the backyard.
Yeah, your mom's
very active with them.
Yeah.
So, but.
And then they go to my parents, and my mom's like, go movies, go play, go on your iPad however long, and then we'll have to call. She's opposite. So we'll call my mom and be like, tell them to get off their iPad, take them to a park or something. So, you know, different parents. But for us, we're not like, everybody's different. But I also do think if there is one bad thing about the millennial side, it's we think that our way is right. And so we tell like our parents, you treat them, if you're going to watch them, you need to watch them and do everything we do at our home, or we're not going to let you have the privilege of seeing your grandchildren. And I think that's really goofy, Obviously, everybody's conviction is everybody's conviction. And these whole episodes have been you and I just sharing our 2 cents and our perspective. I think that you can't have it both ways. And so, and we're seeing it, like our oldest is 7, youngest is 4. They adapt, and they go from our home that has certain rules and standards and this and that, and then they go to, my parents' home, and there's a different style of rules and standard, and then they go to your mom's, and they structure like they're aware, and there's different fun, like they know when they're with your mom, that more than likely they're going to be with all their older cousins. So they think that's so fun. Then when they're with my mom, there's potential that either they get a Target run or the younger cousins that are their age are going to be there potentially. And so for me, as long as my main concern is, don't let my boys cut up. So that's something both grandparents have to agree with. Your mom is more of one that's not going to let that happen. My mom is one that, it's not that she wouldn't let it happen. It's just she lets a lot of stuff. It takes a lot to bother my mom, And so, she raised me, so she has a high pain tolerance.
Very high.
So to what's
She's
big
so
deal
kind.
to us,
Yeah.
my mom's like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. And I'm like, Mom, that's a big deal for me. I don't want Matthias talking like that or doing
or
that.
talking back or anything.
Yeah. And they'll discipline, but they won't tell us. My Ashley's mom, she'll tell us what she did. So that, there's difference, and we're okay with that. And we talk about what we're good with and what we're not good with. And me and your mom just had this on Easter when she was at our house. One of my nephews went in the fridge, and your mom's like, don't go in your uncle's fridge without asking. And then I was like, I'm good with it. So I went to my nephew and was like, you go in my fridge whenever you want. And then me and your mom were just like, yeah, just different styles. So she's like, when you're at my home, you better not get that
popsicle. You better ask Thomas.
Yeah. But again, it's just them learning, and their children are so moldable and adaptable that they'll trigger really fast. When I'm at Uncle Adam and Ashley's, they're good with me doing this. They're not good with me doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I have a lot of like nice collectible things. Star Wars stuff and this and that, and they're not all toys. And so you got to learn, like if you're at my house, it may look cool, but don't touch it because it's probably really valuable. Right. And then and then anything you can touch, if you break it, it's like, to me, I don't have a lot of, I'm like, I'm okay with, know?
Right.
So children are flexible.
They are.
And when they're at both of our parents' house or whatever that is, like, we understand everything may not go.
Yeah, and I agree. I think we're going to get a lot of backlash on the millennial side of things. No,
I don't think so. We went hard on baby boomers.
We did. It's not backlash.
And I get the millennial perspective of it. We want our kids raised a certain, but I'm telling you, can't growth hack it. If your kids are going to, if your kids are not homeschooled, even if they're going to private school, public school, whatever it is, they are going to be exposed to different parenting styles. The teachers are going to say different things. So if you cannot raise resilient children, and you have very binary children that never have to make decisions, that mom and dad eagle eye them on everything, then what's going to potentially happen? I went through seasons like this. You went through seasons like this a different way. When you mother hen your children, the moment they get any freedom and autonomy, not all the time, I don't want to instill fear, but I've been a youth pastor for, ever. I was a young adult pastor forever. I've seen it. I've seen the most diligent Christian parents who, said the Hail Mary every night before bed, and children had all of the Bible memorized. And then they went to college and they had freedom. They didn't know what to do with it. It's not that they wanted to
quit telling my business.
They just didn't know, So I've seen it. I've seen all sides. Yeah. And so what I believe you can do is you can create mature children that learn autonomy. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do about that? Where do you want to go? Okay. There are times that I let Matthias make decisions, and then he gets hurt, and I go, you see? Did you learn? Mm-hmm. Okay. So stop. I want to touch the candle. Go ahead, touch it.
See what
touch
happens.
It. Another parent maybe, you never touch this candle. I'm like, touch it.
Right.
Touch it. See what happens. I got to take you to the hospital. We'll take you to the hospital. You're going to be all right. But you're going to learn real quick. You have autonomy. Mm-hmm. You want to make that decision? there are circumstances, there are consequences
100%
for that decision.
There's many times between you and I where we tell them stop doing that. Stop doing that. Majority of the time, I used to be quick to just snatch them up from doing it. Now I'm like, you'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see. You're like, just let them get hurt.
And then there are other times my dad's letting them do whatever, and I'm like, Dad, tell them to stop. Like, they're going to get hurt. Like, so there's limits.
No.
I'm like, no. But Thomas will choke somebody. Like, don't let him wrestle. Yeah. I'm like, don't trust that boy.
Not him. But yeah, I agree. And I know that you said we did go hard on boomers, but that is the level. If you want to get out of that stigma that boomers don't help.
Well, my whole thing, if you just want help, if you're saying you don't need help, and you're good with mother henning your children and then being with you, and you never going on a vacation with your spouse or, 1 or 2 date night, and it's just all about, you guys wanting to, eagle eye and
because even at the day, at the end of the day, when I would ask the question to somebody that does mother hen their children, because I remember,
and we do it to a degree,
but I do it with I'll text my mom or your mom, and it's more of like, how are you doing? Not what are you doing? How are you doing? But I would ask the question if you did because I've heard from many of cases that the millennials that are like, you have to raise my kid has a sleep schedule, it has to be on this, has to be that, make sure it's this, 7:00 out. I'm like, that, if I was the grandparent, I'd be like, I ain't doing that. That's work.
Yeah, I didn't even do that with y'all.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So,
and you gotta understand, some people just don't know how to do that.
Right.
I wouldn't know how to do. We don't raise our kids with that level.
No.
So like, even if I was watching your kid and you were like, they have to do this at this time. If it's not connected to a health condition, then I'm gonna be like, don't.
They're not spending the night. They're not coming home. No, please don't.
They're not going to bed at 7. I'm sorry.
Nope. Our kids fall asleep in the grass outside, and we have to pick them up.
Legitimately over the shoulder. Whatever. We say, you ready? You tired? Yeah. Just go ahead. Lay down right here.
Right. We're hanging out.
Here. Go to bed. We're chilling by the fire. Go to bed right here.
Yep. So there's a level when it comes to what you had said on the clip, as far as like, we as millennials too have a job of inviting the boomers in, if they've inviting them into our space, if you trust them and you have the relationship and you want to build it. Because like I said, it did not happen overnight, and we're still growing.
And we have boundaries and standards, and we talk back and forth with our parents, and some of them they acknowledge, others they more so like, oh, that's not important to me, so I probably won't do that. And and I have to make a decision.
And that's what I was going to say. We have to have the conversation on how much does that bother us or not bother us, and how much are we going to allow this to weigh on us to maybe interfere with a relationship with our parents, that it can go there. Yeah. So we have to be a team when we make the decision on, obviously, the invite in. What are we gonna accept? What are we not gonna accept? Sort of. Within just raising our kids and within our family. So
and then talk about, like, there have been times we have had to put our not foot down a couple of things, but address, like, Matthias and Thomas, they fall asleep relatively late. I mean, they'll go to bed at midnight if you let them.
Yeah.
So we have to, we got to literally black out the room, bore them to death. Like, they both just have energy.
Sit there and quiet.
Exactly.
We can't even be on our phone.
Yeah, if we're on our phone, they're looking over and they're finding entertainment at whatever we're doing. So me and Ashley for 20 minutes would just stare at the ceiling at 8:45, 9, and then be like, "Did they sleep yet?" So. But they'll go over at my mom's, and then my brother's kids, they go to bed every day at 7:30, 8. Mm-hmm. And then they wake up bright-eyed, bushy till 6. And so our boys, they go to bed around 9:30, and then they're up around literally the car's running. You throw clothes on them, so 7:15. But when they're at my mom's, mom still lets them go to sleep around their normal time, 9:30. But then when their cousins are up, they wake them up. So they go to bed 9:30, 10. They're up at 6 though, not 7:30. And so, we had to talk to my mom because his teachers were calling and we're going hey, Matthias' eyes are red. He's falling asleep. And then I call my mom. Is he not sleeping? No, he's sleeping. We're like, walk us through the night. Da da da. And she's like, well, Ezra and Enzo, they go to bed, and then normally, Thomas and Matthias cuddle with me on their iPads, and they're up another hour or two, and then I'm like, oh, well, there it is.
And then they're up at 6.
And then they're up at 6. So then that was something we had to talk to our mom, be like, hey, this isn't your parenting style. This is detrimental,
Right.
to him in school. Like, we're going to need you to make some adjustments.
Right.
And then if my mom was like, no, I don't want to do that, then we would have to make a tough call. And I think, and we could be mad at her for it, or we could be like, that one I would be pretty upset if she didn't, but she ultimately ended up respecting that. But those are the type of reasons, it would be, good reason to be upset about. But, they've responded
only because
well.
It wouldn't be upset with us. It would be upset the fact that like my son would feel bad that he couldn't spend the night anymore because.
And I'm like, well, you're just not, there's there's no
it's the
exception. Wild West over there.
Yeah.
So you can't do that,
So because you love hanging out with them, because you love to spoil them and you love the extra time and cuddles with them, we appreciate that. And they do too.
Yeah.
But on school night, it's got to be 8:00, latest 8:45, because or 8, knowing that the other kids are up at 6.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, I think those are just some, added examples.
But we have those conversations. It's not something that we sugarcoat. It's not we're not afraid to have these conversations.
And we don't just like go home and then just like, so to say trash talk our parents and then be like, they don't respect our rule. It's like, no, they like, we talk to our parents and be like, hey, this is like a problem,
Yeah, Matthias is sleeping.
We're
Grandma.
a team,
right?
Yeah. Like we're all a team in that way.
Yeah, and they don't get offended. They don't get offended. They have never. I wouldn't say never, but they would never. They wouldn't.
Yeah. But we also like we're pretty lenient on like how they choose to. Absolutely. Raise them when they have them, right? Yeah. Like we're not
strict or by the book.
Our stuff is really much more the vain stuff. Like, hey, they gotta have their hair done. We
brush their teeth.
Yeah, make sure their clothes look right. Like,
make sure their clothes are ironed.
Yeah. That's the stuff we be getting mad over. Oh, Mom, look at his hair. What did you not do it? You gotta learn how to do it.
I don't know how to do it. I threw water in it.
She's like, I never had boys with curly hair.
And that's the stuff what's crazy. Like when you go on my mom, which I would have to ask her because I don't remember growing up. I remember being grown up strict, but as far as, no, I guess I was. Reflection. That my dad would never let us leave the house without our clothes ironed. Girl.
Yeah, your dad.
Oh, if he saw you with something.
For sure.
Like wrinkled.
He has starch pants. His jeans had a line in the center.
Down the middle.
Crease down always.
Down the middle. Crease.
Till the day he went home to be with the Lord.
Yes.
Always wore a pair of jeans with the crease.
I would try to leave for school and he's like, or if I came home and he was like, you left my house like that? So every night we had to bring out our clothes that we were wearing the next day and he would iron our clothes and our clothes would be ironed in the morning. Every day.
He also was a military guy too, so that would probably be a little the black thing and the military thing. Put those together, the matching plus the on point military uniform. Probably that was
something where I've told him, I'm like, those are my Alizé knows this, my non-negotiable. Your hair better be done.
Yeah, anyone that watches The Boys is like,
your hair, she knows,
teeth better be brushed
and hair done.
Yeah. Now they can choose what style they want, but it got to look good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, our boys, man. That's too funny.
Yeah. But the other stuff, like, we ate candy all night. Like, we'll maybe talk to grandma or whatever. And, but it's like, your hair wasn't done? You went to school with no gel?
Right.
Look at it with this shirt. Did it just come straight out of your backpack? What's going on?
That's crazy.
He said, that's like Tom, Tom was doing great in soccer. And I asked him, hey, Dad, you play great. Daddy wants to get you a small little gift from Amazon. Is there something you have in mind? And he's like, I want some new Lionel Messi cleats. I want some matching cleats with my uniform. Yeah. He goes, I want Messi cleats. Because he had like Matthias's hand-me-downs. And he was like, birthday. I'm like, bro, I was thinking like maybe like a $9, wall gummy toy. Like, no, I want to invest in my craft.
Very much so. Invest in his craft, and this is
look good.
Look good. This was a side sub because Alizé came and watched him first time. Was it 2 weeks ago? And the whistle blew, but he heard me call Alizé's name from afar to come, and he's just standing there. Game's going on.
Yeah.
Standing there looking at her, and then she's finally like, "Hi, Thomas, go!" And then he's like. And then he goes, and I'm like, what? Is...
He's like, I wonder if she saw my cleats. That's what he was thinking. For sure, that's what he was thinking.
A mess. No, but I'm actually kind of...
millennials are mad that I said.
I was going to say, I'm like really shocked that went, not shocked that it went viral.
Oh, I'm shocked. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought. Well, the whole premise of the video is there's become a popular thing with baby boomers, and it went viral because it is apparently as popular as I made it sound.
Like that clip.
Yeah, because there's
little clip.
Like anyone, like I live in an echo chamber, so I counsel people. Mm-hmm. We have a podcast, so we get direct, feedback from people regularly, but we're pastors and Christians. So we also live in that kind of bubble and echo chamber. Yeah. So to me, in my space, something may sound like, it's a big deal, but then you put it out in the world and then everybody's like, oh, nobody's thinking about that, and then there's something like this that you put out in the world and it's like Christian, non-Christian, it's a generational thing that then just kind of hits a chord with people that are like, generationally, this is affecting us, which for me, like I would. So then
on the response to that side of things, then I don't remember us saying in the last podcast, then if a parent, a boomer is saying like, I raised you, I did what I was supposed to do, I'm retired, I'm traveling the world, now you raise your family the way that you need to. What do you say to the millennial to encourage them in that sense, to say like, let's just say my dad passed away. My mom's like, I want to go travel the world. I raised you guys. I did well. I love you guys, but I would like to do more. Or even if my dad was still here. Well, like how would we have processed something like that?
I think what's getting a lot of people upset is, but that's not the reality that their parents had for them. So I think they're viewing it as they're asking it. They're upset because of the hypocrisy of like, well, in the 80s and the 90s, I'm at my family members, at my aunts, uncles, grandparents, blah blah blah, and I'm trying to naturally. I think that's how a community succeeds, right? Is generation, as one generation gets older and gets more free time, it's not only to enjoy your life, which is why I love Dave Ramsey, he's my guy, but I also believe that to a capacity, like you should try to live now, because because it's not guaranteed that, number one, old age is not promised, but also it's not promised that, because so what happens is the baby boomers fell under this concept that's like grind, reach retirement, let the TV or let your parents raise your children so that you can work, so that then you can enjoy your life as you get older. And then our generation's going like, hey, we would like that. Like we would like to work, or we would also like to have some date nights or maybe go on vacation like you and mom did growing up, where you and mom got some time to go do blah, blah, blah. And when I ask you, all of a sudden I'm inconvenienced, but that wasn't my reality being raised. So I think that's what's getting people upset. They view it as hypocrisy. It's not like, oh, well, yeah, my parents were helicopter parents, so I should be helicopter parents, because more than likely you mirror what you were raised off of. So many people are upset, not because they didn't get to experience that as a child. It's they did experience that. So then they're thinking, well, then surely while I take more hours or I'm a single parent and I want to have some type of life too at the same time, I know my mom and dad will help me out because my grandparents really helped them. And then they go, no, we're not interested. We want to go to the Grand Canyon. And it's like, oh shoot, and there are a lot of great baby boomer parents. Like we have them, and a lot of our friends have them. So I'm not saying it's just like a 100% generation, but it's an epidemic within that generation. And if it doesn't apply to you, then it doesn't apply to you. But at the same time, I mean, I sit, given, the great, blessing and grace God's given us, you and I have the blessing that we get to talk to all generations regularly. And so, and God has graced me that, people that are 70 and 80 receive from me. And I don't know why, but they do, because I have friends my age that, only have churches with people their age. And so not only because I took over a church, but also I think a lot of people that are older do respect me to a certain degree. So I always get older people coming up to me that's like, my daughter doesn't talk to me anymore. My son cut me off, and they're crying. And I'm a pastor. I'm not like, hey, like your generation is this. But one of the things I do pose because obviously they want to talk to me, they want a little brief, quick counseling, encouragement. One of the things I ask them is like, is there anything that your son or daughter has been asking of you for a few years that maybe you haven't been doing?
Right.
And, do you think maybe that they've hit a wall of frustration, and sometimes they go, man, I don't know. And then I go, you should ask them that. Because I think if you open the door, that you might be able to regain a relationship with your granddaughter or grandson or whatever it is that's being kept from them. Or other times they go, well, yeah, but that's so petty. My son, he's such a selfish that, okay, wait, he could, if he's selfish, it's wrong, but hey, you're the one who wants to build the bridge, right? So watch your words, because if that's what you're saying to me, your pastor, I can only imagine what you're saying to your husband or your wife or behind closed doors or what you're even maybe saying to your son or daughter. Because I've heard it. We've done counseling. We've also lived life like, families do not speak the nicest to each other because they know that they have to forgive each other.
Yeah.
And so families tend to speak nastiest to each other and say things that they ultimately regret, but they feel like they could do it because they're family. They have to forgive me. And so, I have heard words over the decades of ministry exchanged between husbands, wives, children, grandchildren, children, aunts, uncles, cousins, family, that, is heartbreaking, the words that are exchanged. And so, man, you add all that in. That's why when I tell people, like, when they're like, what should I do to get my relationship back with my son? And I'm like, well, I don't know everything, because there's a lot of potential dynamics that have to do. Number one, he could just be, they just could be jerks, like that could be.
Right.
But that's most of the time how the baby boomer presents it about their children. It's like, they're just jerks.
Yeah.
They just cut me off.
Yeah, they're rude. They're
Yeah. And there might be truth to it. It's just I've done enough ministry and counseling that we all fall short. We all fail.
Right.
Like, first tell me you've looked in. Let's look in a mirror first.
Especially when both sides are offended. If both sides are, there was offense taken on each side.
Yeah.
Something for someone to react in a way, you must have said something or did something. No one just reacts off of nothing. No one just goes into any situation or conversation thinking like, oh, I'm already pissed off at them, and they didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
There was something that was said or spoken or heard that you may have said to somebody else that got back in translation that may have not been truth, but that's what they heard. And that could potentially be the reason why they're mad, which one of the cases that I had heard is one of the kids that wasn't talking to the mother and cut the mother off was because the mother had said something about the son to her other son. Mm-hmm. Well, the other son told his wife. Well, the wife told her sister-in-law, and the sister-in-law ended up telling her husband that this is what the mom said. So it was like a huge telephone that got all the way around. Who knows the language? Who knows the body language? Who knows the temperature? Who knows how it was voiced? And then what the son was basically did was, well, I'm going to cut you off because why are you talking about me? And how did it get around to everybody else? And now I'm mad. So something had to have happened. Either you have to face yourself and say, okay, was I saying it in a mean way? Should I have said it to your brother? I should have actually just told you, and I shouldn't have said it, or I was mean.
Yeah.
It's a reflection.
Yeah.
It's selfless. Marriage is selfless, but I also believe relationships are selfless, to where you can look yourself in the mirror and you could say, or look the person in their eyes and tell them, hey, I was wrong in that situation, and be okay to receive whatever response you get back. You're forgiven or you're not.
Yeah.
And that person has to live with that. You said you were sorry. You looked in the mirror. You were able to say, hey, what I did was wrong. But there's there's always two lanes. And either you're going in the same direction or you're going in opposite. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, and I think one of the worst words that you can use in family and in marriage is but, and you see it all the time. It's like, hey, you said this and it really hurt me. And it's like, yeah, I said that, but we're family. Or, but I'm their grandma. Or, and it's like, no, if you failed, If you fell short, it's, I'm sorry.
And
I want to do better next time. If you allow me the opportunity to be in your life, if you allow me the opportunity, and someone say, well, that's not fair. Well, do you want a relationship with your children and grandchildren, or do you not? And what I'm saying right now is not like schooling someone. It's me who has sat in counseling, who has sat after service with individuals who want to restore relationship with family members. And as I'm talking to them, they go, yes, I did do that, but this is what I was going through. And I go, there's no buts when there's an offended party and they're the ones telling you they're offended. You don't get to go, yeah, but you offended me.
Or
you should have shared that then,
you.
or the very hazy, you know exactly what you did, but you're saying if I ever offend, well, I don't remember that, but if that offended you, no, like, you remember it, it happened, and the best thing you could do to restore that relationship is, I may have said that, I may have done that. I hope you could forgive me. I was in a really bad place, or I was really upset, or I was really this. If you give me the opportunity moving forward, I would love a chance to. I'm not always going to do it perfect, but I could tell you this. I hear you, and I apologize. It was wrong of me to say or do what I did, but I would love a relationship with you and my grandchildren. And so, I hope that you can see that I'm willing to change and move forward. Not, yeah, but I'm your dad. Yeah, but now that may be true, but it's not going to get the relationship. And in counseling, it's always, do you want to be right, or do you want to be restored? If you want to be right, then you could be right all day long. That's fine. But
in your own head, you're probably the only one that's right.
Yeah, but even if you are right in real life, that's fine.
Yeah.
Even if you are completely, like right for what you felt and how you're feeling, it's fine. All of us are right about stuff all the time. In marriage, you're going to be right all the time. But do you want to be restored? I'm not going to always be like, Ashley, so can you admit it? I was right. No, it's just the other day at Disneyland, I didn't tell you, but you told me one way was faster than another, but my way was faster. And I didn't tell you. But you knew I was right. You knew it was right.
No, because you go around
I was
directly
right.
to the door.
Right.
I didn't know we had to wait back in the line.
We did, though.
I
knew that, though.
Oh,
but I knew that, though.
I did not know that, so I
apologize. Of course, why would I send us that way?
Because I thought when they say, please return within 10 minutes, I'm thinking my 10-minute butt's going to right back
No, you even knew that, though. You said because we have to go back to the line. You even knew that. I said, shame the devil, tell the truth. Shame the devil, tell the truth.
You go to the front.
But was I right? No, you don't. You go to the line.
Oh, okay. You're right.
Okay, but I didn't need to hear that. That's the point. I just wanted to be restored. I wanted to go to Olga's Cantina, have some snacks, and just enjoy.
Dumb.
If I got in the line and I looked at her and I go, I was right, then all of a sudden we'd go in there and we probably wouldn't be talking. We'd be looking at our phones and blah, blah, blah. So I just thought, I know I'm right.
Oh, but you held on to that.
I'm going to put it in the pocket. I know the Lord brought that right now because I was making a point, and as a preacher, we got to bring real life story.
Course.
And I did. I put your failures in front of everybody to see your learning moments. But again, it's not about being right.
Yes, it was.
It's
you moron. Get off the podcast. Turn his mic off.
God has such a creative way of just bringing it back. I prayed for a moment like this today.
No, you didn't.
So,
you prayed that God would reveal something where you could say you were right.
No, that He would just bring back the Star Wars Disneyland situation because you try to swipe it under the rug.
I didn't try to swipe it under the rug.
Did.
We just didn't talk about it.
Exactly. Because she's making a big, no, we need to go this way. Oh my God, we got to go to the line. It's right here. No, fine. We'll go your way. And then we literally 6 steps later, we're at the line.
No,
and
it was about
I'm like,
46.
No, it was not. It was 6 steps.
About 46.
And I just said, you know what? It's not worth being right. I want to have fun on this date night. God will show her blindness. He's a good father.
Yeah, okay,
That's
blindness. You were blind a whole lot that night too. So
I was sleepy is what I was. It was a late night.
You're so dumb. You're so dumb.
We had no plans to talk about this topic again, but I think it was a good part too.
Good. It was.
I had something completely different, which we'll do
Next time. Tomorrow.
Another time.
Another time.
Yeah. We're filming a few episodes this week because I'm got some things coming up.
Busy.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Take a lesson from me. Trust God.
Turn his mic off.
Be
already.
a man of prayer.
Yeah, a man of prayer.
You don't have to prove that you were right to your wife.
Right in that moment, you'll wait until 2-3 days later to share.
If you seek the face of the Lord every day, He will silence your enemies.
Silence him. Turn it off, Andy.
Peace, everybody.